just close that off. And the audio isn't going to be great here. It's going to be a little bit echoey. I apologize, but that is because we are in my front hallway with the front entry mirror. And the reason that this is so important is because sometimes I use my kids' hair clips to go in and hold my hair back. And before I answer the door, I want to make sure that I don't have some sort of ridiculousness happening when I open the door. You know, really it's just a vanity thing. So here I was testing out a bit of the design that we're going to do today, and I guess I can talk to you this way too. But in here we have this mirror. I'm just buffing this chalk marker off with a microfiber cloth because I wanted to test the design out a little bit before we went and did this together. There we go. 2-finger attack works way better with this cloth. But this time I'm going to be doing the design using a Posca marker. And, not a Posca, a Posterman. Sorry, Zig. This is a Zig Posterman. Where are my words? This is a Zig Posterman waterproof marker, and it specifically says it's good for chalkboards, windows, mirrors, and ceramics. Now, I have little kids who are going to be touching this mirror. They're going to be testing to see if it erases, and with chalk marker it will. Chalk marker is great because you can just wipe it off. It's super easy. This, though, if you take your dish sponge with just a little bit of soap on it, you'll be able to wash this right off the mirror. Otherwise, if you're using a water-based or ink-based Sharpie or a Craftsmart marker, then you can just wipe that off, usually with Windex, or if it doesn't come off, take an X-Acto blade or razor blade and scrape it off, and that will work too. So to get started today, we are going to do a mirror that has a bow in the middle, a little bit of branch work coming out. There's going to be a fancy ribbon and then Merry Christmas written on the bottom. And that might seem like a lot, but I promise you, you're going to be able to do it. It's going to be big success. So the first thing that you might want to do, though, is get a guideline. And I just have a piece of string with 2 pieces of tape on either side. And you can use that to make sure that wherever you're drawing straight across your mirror. But if you were to use washi tape or something directly on the mirror, it means that you'd have to lift it up every time you needed to draw in that section. So by doing this, you can easily just pull the string. It's a nice way to make sure that you are straight. And I'm just going to check a little bit high on this side. The other reason that this can be good is because you can see in your mirror where your height is. My thing is that usually I have crazy hair clips in to keep these bangs back, and if I did the design too low, wouldn't be able to see any of that. This also ensures that you have enough space on top to be able to do your whole design and sort of gives you that line to ground yourself. Now I'm doing it up on the wall. If you have the ability to take the mirror down, that might be easier for you, but we're going to start off with a ribbon, and this is similar to the one that we did just on our last live lesson together last Tuesday. So for the center, rather than it sitting on top of a present, you want to do a rounded rectangle. And again, the whole point of this is not to be perfect. We want it to look natural. We're going to be adding in lots of elements so you don't have to worry, oh, people are going to notice that this is a little bit higher. It's not even going to be noticeable. So now following pretty much where that line is down below, you want to do a little hook, just like a Christmas hook for hanging your ornaments. And a hook there, one on each side. And then you're going to come in and you're going to do a nice, big, bouncy, soft heart shape. One on that side and one on this side. And if they are uneven, like mine are here, you can always, while it's, just dropping other pens on the floor. While it's still wet, you can come in and wipe that a little bit off. Or you can say, you know what, I'm just gonna work with it the way it is. And it will, I promise you, end up looking great in the end. So make that one a little bigger. You know what, I actually just made it more lopsided. And that's the joy of doing things live. I can't. It's too much now. All right. Good enough. And that's always where we want to get it. My husband has a saying that says, it might not be 100% perfect, but done is better than wasting 3 hours trying to get it totally perfect. So I'm not gonna waste any more of your time. So now we're going to draw ribbons coming out, and those ribbons are going to be coming out, and then we're gonna have it wrapping around the mirror here a little bit. And it's going to be like wrapping around the pine boughs and the foliage that we put in here. But it sounds complicated, it's really not. So coming out of the one side, you just want to draw a wave. And you're gonna mimic that down below. This one maybe could have come down a little bit more. And so we'll draw that on this side too. Oh, my mirror's rocking. Mimic it down below. So we have the two waves on the top. And now down below, you're just going to draw another wave that mimics that one. 1 and 2, this is another chunk of ribbon. And then let's do a short one here. 1 and 2. And now we're gonna finish this side off so that you can see what's happening before we move on to that side. So now, I'm gonna take that down. This side here, you want to do a slight curve in. Do that for those 2. And then do it on this side for 2. 1, 2. And here we're gonna do it like someone came along and scissor snipped the end. So in and back out. So you can see that the ribbon comes here and then it's gonna wrap around something and behind. Oh, and there's the front again, then it's wrapping around something and behind, and you can see its little tail. So let's do the same on this side. Moving over here, you're going to do your mimic line, those two go together, and then this would wrap around here, and short mimic lines. And then let's do our little curve, on all those sides except the end, and that's where we have our ribbon snip. All right, so we're starting to see some sort of design happening here. This is a little higher than this side. Again, we're going to be filling it with foliage, so that's totally fine. So let's start on some of the foliage. I'm just gonna close that line up. Now, the easiest way to do it is to have the foliage spraying out to the ends here and then kind of falling down. Depends on the size of your mirror for how much you actually want to fill with foliage. If you have a huge mirror that you're doing, sometimes doing something just along the top here and then the writing we're going to do on the bottom will be enough. But if you have a smaller mirror, you can always bring your foliage all the way down to do a border on the outer side. So we're just going to do 2 simple types of foliage. The first one, you're going to draw a gentle line, somewhat curved, and then right on the end, do a little leaf shape. It's shaped like a teardrop. And off of one side, do those teardrops all the way down. And you want them to go a little bit bigger as you go down. Now, you might want to start to get them small here because there's not a lot of space, but we actually want this to look like it's a big, nice big piece of foliage. So the size of these ones here should still be big, and they're just going behind. So that's when you do your ghost writing where you don't touch and then you bring it back in. But continue your pen as if you are writing so that you get all of those little details. And then we're going to do it on the other side as well. Getting those nice and big as we move down. And the other thing about getting your nice big leaves is that means that your leaves will start to fill in some of this space here. And that's what we're looking for. So let's do another one of that sort of style coming off the bottom part of the bow here. So it's going to come down and we can sort of have it looping up. And that's where the end of that leaf is going to go. And now again, draw your leaves all the way along, making them a little bit bigger as you go. And if they're supposed to be big, but you have to go behind something, still extend your pen so that you can continue that natural look. And we'll mimic on this side, extend and in, extend and in, and go all the way. Now here, I wanted to start drawing over on this section right here, but the ribbon is holding it in, so we don't want to go out there. Instead, bring it right to the edge. And here we can go nice and big because it's outside of our ribbon space. And go all the way right into the base of the ribbon. So we've already started to fill in some space here, but we need something that's a little bit more, a little heavier, more concentrated. So we're going to do some tree, pine boughs. All right, let's do a little one off here. You can layer them. So do one line and then do one more little line. And then you're going to just draw your pine spikes off of it. And when I draw the pine spikes, I try to make sure that they go in every different direction because that is what they naturally would be doing. Some of them go straight out, some of them angle down a little bit, some of them angle up a little bit. And that is what you want to capture here. Don't make them all go the same way. All right, and right into the base. And that heaviness here starts to give this some grounding and really fill that space in. And sure, it overlaps over those other leaves. That's okay. Keep it all there. That's just like how it actually would be. So we're going to do another one over here. One line coming off, and then let's do another one that's down to fill in that area right there. Now consider though that this needs to stay behind our ribbon. So as you fill in towards the base of it, don't go over top of the ribbon. And get those different angles for your pine needles. And don't go over top of that ribbon. They're going to be short strokes that you're going to have to put in there, but you want to make sure that the ribbon pops forward. So just tiny strokes. And you probably even want to get it pretty solid right in beside the ribbon. That also will help to make the ribbon pop. Let's do a few more right in here so that we have a natural curve coming down for this side of the ribbon and the foliage. So we'll add another one of these guys. And if you feel like it is looking a little empty, you can always draw the veining in your leaves. But just make sure that when you draw those veining details, you're not pushing as hard as you did for the outside borders of your leaves, and that will just help to give that definition between the outline and the detail lines. Okay, so we're going to do another one down here, and we want it to look like it's still being grounded from this main part here. So draw a little line if you need to, and then finish your leaf section down here. Remember, you always put one of those little guys right in the end, and then let's fill in the rest of this branch. Now, another thing that you can do too is have a second branch coming off. And it might be coming off where you can't see, or it might be coming off somewhere where you can, and that guy too can have just a few little leaves coming off. So don't think that it always just has to be straight like that. These guys got really small. Got a little distracted. But again, once that's part of the overall design, you won't even notice it. So let's draw on the other side. Mimicking and making sure they're all getting in there. And again, if you want, you can do those little detail lines on the inside where you're giving it a bit of a vein for your leaves. And now let's add in some more of the pine boughs. You maybe could put one here and behind, but let's definitely get one going in here. I'm gonna put this one behind, so that's why it's connecting like that. But then if you do that, you just need to watch out that you don't draw over top of any of your leaves in here. So you might just want to do tiny strokes where it would be to suggest that it's going in behind, but just don't overwhelm it too much. There we go. And filling in this section. And again, we're keeping that leaf in the front. because you always have layering when you're doing a wreath. Some things are in front and others are behind. All right, so this guy needs a little bit more heaviness in here so that it looks like he's coming from up in this section. And that's starting to fill out really nicely, just with two simple types of foliage. So you don't need to be the world's most amazing artist in order to create some of your own art in your own home. Let's fill in this little bit right here because it looked quite empty. So just doing those tiny marks, giving yourself a slight angle. That almost looks like you want to pet that one. It's too perfect. There we go. That will help to fill in that side. And I feel like it needs a little something up in here too. So we'll just add one little guy up here. So what you want to do too is continue to always step back from what you're working on so that you can see it from farther away, because you're not just going to be looking at your mirror standing quite so close to it. You are going to be a little bit further back and looking at it as you walk up, looking at it as you walk past. You want to make sure all of those details are there. Okay, let's add in a few winter berries, I think. So you're going to take your pen, and I always overthink these. So one thing to do is just to draw a line, and then wherever your line naturally sort of changed direction, that's where you're going to add another branch. And once you have a few branches there, you can simply draw some berries on the end. So I'm going to draw little caps for the berries to come off of. And you don't usually have just the 4 berries. So give yourself a few more places for berries to come off, and even these ones where the berries are coming off, they typically do branch quite a few times. So once you have your branches and little caps, you can draw in some berries just by doing a circle and then a little highlight line in them. And one thing you want to do is make sure some of them are nice and big. Those ones are the ones that are ready to be harvested, and just some also little tiny baby guys. When you draw the reflection line, always think about where the light is coming from. It doesn't change directions. For me, it's right over top of my head. So that's why the little light reflection lines are all sort of in the same area on the berries, regardless of how the berries are turned. This one's hanging down. The light reflection is still on the left side. This one is pointing its tushy up into the air, and it still has that light reflection on the top left. Okay, we need to tie that in. Let's do a few berries just sitting up in here so that it looks like it's going all the way into the piece. And that definitely helps. Now, we're going to be filling in this side, but it's always nice not just to have the one time of a foliage in an instance here, and this is sort of an instance of foliage. We need to put it somewhere else as well. So you can even, wherever you have space really, fit another one in. So whether it's coming off of here, and it's just a tiny little guy poking in off the side, or you manage to get it in off the top somewhere. If you have it in more than one place, it will look much more balanced on your piece. So let's leave it there for now. We have some pine boughs, we have some of these lighter leaves, and we have some berries. And let's move on to our writing on the bottom. You're going to definitely want to bring out your string for this one, because it's almost impossible to write straight when you are writing on a wall. Just naturally, you're going to either write up or write down a little bit. So by putting that across so that it's straight, you can make sure that you have a base guideline. It's also nice to use this because when you're writing, like if we're writing Merry Christmas, that's what you can do. You are writing your Y, and it will go down below the baseline, but the string will just move out of the way, and then it'll come right back up to give you that same baseline across your mirror again. Yeah, that looks pretty straight. So let's write the words Merry Christmas, and we're going to do foligraphy, and that was the first live lesson that we did 2 weeks ago together. And so that means that first you're going to write it just regular with your pen, then you're going to go in and add your thicks and thins. Now, fingers crossed it's perfectly centered. You always probably want to do like, oh, one word on this side, one word on this side, but think about how long Christmas is compared to Merry. It's twice as long. All right, I'm just gonna get down here to do this. And one thing you'll want to do is leave yourself a little bit of extra space at the front or the end. That way, if you don't have it perfectly centered, you can always go in and add a flourish or something to help make it look more centered. So Mary. Now after I add the letters, just double checking on the straight. Oh, Chris. After I add the letters in, then you want to go through and add in your thicks and thins. Let's just cross that T. Now you could decide just to leave it like that. If you like just the thin line that you got, that's totally fine. Otherwise, remember, our way to do our filigraphy is all of those downstroke bits. You just do a line on either side. That's how you make sure that you get a nice even addition of downstrokes. And then you're gonna retrace, which can be hard if you're using a chalk marker, because when you retrace, sometimes it'll actually lift the marker up. So you'll want to play around with that a little bit. That might be frustrating, and you might just decide to do a single line. But this way, you'll get perfect curves and it won't look like filigraphy. Now, if you didn't catch this lesson, it is absolutely available on my YouTube channel. So go and watch the perfect filigraphy lesson, because it will make sure that your filigraphy looks like calligraphy without your lettering getting totally thrown off. Make sure to, if you're using a push pen, so a paint pen that you can depress the tip, that you are giving it little shakes every so often, and that you have a piece of paper so that you can pump the tip, so that you can push the pen, maybe, sounds better, to make sure that you always have ink flowing out. So as you go through and thicken up those lines, there's lots of ink on the tip of the pen. Okay, I don't want to take forever doing this because, man, that's going to be boring for you. And the scratching where it lifts off the paint, usually that's just because there's not a ton of ink on the tip. And I find if I do it in going in one direction, sometimes tapping, first of all, getting more ink on the tip is what you want to do, but then just tapping, you can fill in that area as well so that you have a nice opaque letter. I'm going to finish all of this while we're doing this lesson together, because like I said, that's going to be pretty boring for you. And it's also making me very aware that I think I pull weird faces while I'm lettering, but I don't normally see it when I'm not lettering on a mirror. All right, and the little dot of your eye, that always wants to be as thick as your downstroke, so let's give that some weight as well. Make sure you get perfectly smooth lines to go from your downstrokes to your upstrokes. And into your flourish too here, you want to get it nice and thin, but also have those lines look like they naturally flow from one thickness to the other. And now on a flourish, you might think, well, where am I going to put any pressure on the flourish? Should I make the whole thing thick? Should I make just a little bit of it thick? And if in doubt, leave it out. Don't add anything to it. But the other thing you can do is do your ghost writing, where you take your marker and you don't touch on your canvas or your paper or your mirror, and you just rewrite it in the air just above. And any place where you have had to go in a downward direction, you can add a little bit of weight there. So just put a little bit there and continue the line a bit so it doesn't look so obvious. And so you could also put a little bit here where you go downwards, but the rest of the line, I'm just drawing right on top because that wasn't in a downwards direction. That's at a bit of an angle, but downwards direction is the part where you're going down. Like if you were falling down a hole, you wouldn't be able to hit the sides. You would just be falling straight down. That's a terrible analogy. Depressing too, as we're writing Merry Christmas. Okay. My pen, there we go. Getting a little bit more ink on there. Make sure that you blend those lines into your upstrokes. There we go. And then once you are done with your letters, I'm gonna leave Mary for now because, again, watching me do this live, it's taking up a lot of your day, and I wanna make sure that your day is spent doing wonderful holiday things, not watching me do wonderful holiday things. You need to already be thinking about which mirror you're going to be attacking with your chalk markers or this Posterman pen, or really whatever marker you have. Stabilo also makes large crayons that are designed to be used on windows and mirrors. So those are also an option. My kids really get a kick out of those. I'm pretty sure they're gonna be asking me to pull those out once they see that I was doodling on the mirror. So let's do the other side, and we're going to be mimicking what we did over here. That'll help to give a balanced look, but it will also help to ensure that, well, yeah, that it's balanced, but we also want to make sure that it all looks like it flows together and is nice and natural. We want to fill it in, and this side's pretty filled in, so doing this over here too will also help to fill in this side. Now, of course, you can continue on if you just want to have the little bit here for a face to go, but you don't have to. And so we're going to leave it here for now. Maybe you might want to put one more just so that this ribbon really has something to hold on to. But again, like I said, it's not necessary. So we started off with this main piece of foliage going out from this top corner here and drawing in your little leaf shapes. And those leaves get bigger as they move down. Remember, they're still big even underneath there, so keep them coming. All right, now we're going to do these leaves on this side, and if you want, you can draw those details of the little lines inside your leaves, but those should be a little bit thinner than the lines that you did for the outer parts of your leaves. So just really lightly on your mirror. All right, let's put our next one down here, and that was coming off the bottom part of this ribbon. So that's why I like to start with these, because they have a place to be grounded. This bottom part right here, and it's gonna go underneath this guy. That's also helping to tie these two together. Now, can't really start with the top because it's tucked underneath, but we'll start with one side here. They're getting bigger as they move along. Oh, it's underneath, but we can still continue on underneath, seeing how big they would be. And sometimes you don't know, it might be that it ends up poking out somewhere else. So you just want to make sure that your pen is showing you where to go so that you can poke any of those leaves out that you need to. All right, and we'll draw our little details in there, just a tiny thin line. The ones where the leaves start getting quite small, you probably don't want to add those details in because it'll just be too much. We still want these leaves to be nice and light looking. And let's do another leaf coming down here. Now for this leaf, this one here is going out to the side, so you'd want to mimic that down here as well. We'll have it coming out of the middle and it sort of angles out to the side. That'll give you a balanced look. And that one on the tip, now let's fill in the rest of the branch. So here, oh, see, that's when it would come behind. That's why you do your ghost drawing. Goes behind, might even come out there. It's a nice big leaf. And then this one is going to actually be constrained by that outer portion of the ribbon. And this guy here, it's just like he's doing a sneak attack there where he's making it out of the ribbon. Pairing these up. And sometimes you might even have it that they're changing direction. Again, that's part of getting a natural look for your piece where some of them overlap. Draw in those inner detail lines. Nice. Okay, now the pines. So these are used to fill in some of this space. Let's give it 2 forks and then start to color it in. Remember, you actually want to be going out with the angle of the pines, but make sure that you're not covering up these leaves. You're going in behind those guys there. Angle your pines at all different angles, those needles, because they're crazy. Not always just facing one way. And go all the way right in to where those 2 points meet. Don't stop just because it's already being covered by these pine needles from this branch. You want to go all the way because where it meets, the pine needles will be more dense. And so continuing your lines all the way in will give you that density that you need for that connection to look natural. Now let's do some more over here. We had one on this side, so let's bring one, and he's gonna go in front, and he'll have his little buddy poking out this way, maybe even a little guy here. And then this one's in front, so you don't need to worry too much about going behind those leaves. And you don't need to worry too much, you don't need to. And remember to do the entirety of your pine branch. Don't just do part of it. So we're gonna go all the way here because you would have those denser needles where the 2 overlap. And then we have our other little guy coming up this way and he meets in here. So we're gonna get nice dense needles all the way to there. All right. We're giving ourselves some visual weight by doing these ones. So let's do one more to fill in this space right here. And you could have it that it's going down and actually coming in. So it's getting tucked up underneath that ribbon there. And it's coming out from underneath the ribbon here. So make sure that that ribbon edge is maintained. And he's getting tucked underneath. Perfect. And then we will have another one coming out over here and we'll give him a little buddy coming off to the side there. So first let's draw in the little buddy. And you want to move your pen so that your outstroke is the end. The end of your stroke is always on the outer side. And that little buddy goes all the way in, and then this one starts up in here. I guess we're going on top. I committed accidentally to going on top of that leaf right there, but that's okay. That leaf was pretty big, so that shouldn't be a problem. But go all the way in, but don't go on top of your ribbon. Your ribbon always needs to be on top. Okay, let's do one more coming off from underneath, and he's gonna go under these leaves and then come out underneath here. I like to look at what's going on over here to see how far down it should go over on this side of the mirror, and to balance it out, we need to make it go a little bit further down so that they are going down just as far. Getting those little strokes in there, and remember they want to go at all directions. And now the little strokes for this side of the branch. And go all the way up to where they meet so that you have that higher density of the pines up there. So now we need to add in some berries, but it doesn't need to be in exactly the same place necessarily. If you're not sure though, that's sort of your easy cheat. Use this as a guideline. It's not a cheat, it's a strategy, and bring it on over here as well. So we'll draw our gentle line. Oh, and it changed direction there. And anywhere that you see a directional change, don't make it so straight, but those directional changes, that's where you're going to put your little berry cap. And then fill in your berries. Remember, they should be different sizes. Oh, hi, postman. Uh-oh, he's probably gonna knock on the door. very nice. He's lovely. I usually chat with him for a while, so this is very, very sad. Okay, now we're gonna bring one out this way as well, because that way you're getting a little, I noticed these are quite close together. These ones are really far apart, so we need to balance that out. That just means let's put some more berries over on this side. Fill it up a little. All right. Okay, and up here, we need a few berries because we've got some over there. Get them in there with their little caps. And we'll even put one right there. So now we have some berries on this side, some over on this side. This area up here might be a little bit empty, but we can go in and do some detail lines in the bow, just so that it looks like it's got a little bit of a reflective quality. And just trace inside your line a little bit. This one can be made a touch thicker. And then up in here, you want to have it not be a solid line, but just one for some details. And let's draw some detail lines in here where it would be folding, overlapping on itself a touch. And those can be different lengths. And you can also mimic that on these ribbons here if you'd like, where you have just gentle lines coming in, following the ribbon direction. There as well, and here along the edge. Whoa, that one went super crazy. I couldn't see where my line was going. That's why it's not so good to work backwards where your hand is. I'm sure lefties know all about that. The kids are they're both lefties and they're constantly smearing all their work. All right. You might want to fill in this top bit up here with a little bit more, so let's put a few pine needles like they're just coming in off of here. Oh, I look like I'm just getting into antlers. And that will help to fill in the rest, but you can go and create your own mirror so that you have a nice festive holiday mirror. And if you want to do flowers, you can do that. If you want to add in a little bit of color, you can do that. Now, the reason that I use white, let me just talk about that for 1 second, is because the white, when I go to wash this off, if white gets on the frame here, it's not going to stain the frame. But if you use black or red or other colors like that, you just need to be really careful when you wash it off that it doesn't get pushed out into the frame and potentially ruin the frame of your mirror. Unless this is just something you want to put away in a Christmas box and pull out again next year. There we go. You can even put a few little guys coming down here to fill in the rest. Soften up the detail around the ribbon, but that's absolutely not necessary. But regardless of how much you do, I hope that you have fun creating your own holiday mirror. It can be a small mirror, it can be a big mirror. You don't have to go all the way down the side. You could do just your basic line for your lettering, or you can always go through and thicken it up. But this way you will bring a little bit more of the holiday cheer into your own home. I hope that you have so much fun creating your own holiday mirror, and thanks for joining me.